So cloud computing. So what exactly the term cloud computing and what exactly the terms and terminologies they are using in cloud, and what about the suffix in the topic like Amazon Web Services. So we'll have a look and we'll discuss one by one. So prior to that, let's discuss the table of contents and the agenda, exactly what we are going to discuss about. So here we are going to have a look what exactly cloud computing. I can say its introduction formally and characteristics of a cloud. So if we talk about something called a cloud computing, so what is mean by that? So if I have a set of characteristics, then I'll call it as male or female or human being or animal. So if you take a lion, so lion must be having a characteristics, a tiger must be having some sort of characteristics. So similarly, if you take a cloud, so what is characteristics of the cloud? And you have a set of models. So we'll explain and we'll discuss more on that. Then we are entering into AWS, which is one of the cloud provider. Then we'll have a look at why AWS and the list of AWS services. At end, we'll have a look and discuss what all the job opportunities available in the market with respect to AWS or cloud. Okay. So before entering into the cloud computing, so we'll talk about something called IT infrastructure. So IT infrastructure, what exactly the term infrastructure? So when you go to your home or when you go to any office, if someone say, so I need some good infrastructure, or I'm working with infrastructure, or I want to take over this infrastructure into next level. So what does it mean, the infrastructure? So if you talk about a layman language, infrastructure is nothing but a table, chairs, your power banks or a socket, power sockets. When you're carrying your laptops, chargers, keyboard, mouse, everything is infrastructure. So how exactly the IT infrastructure, the term IT infrastructure means over here? So when you broadly think about the IT infrastructure industry, the word infrastructure means server, network, storage, and security. There are multiple factors, other multiple factors also included. I just took a top 4 IT infrastructure where we need to give our priority. So when I talk about server, most of you guys might understand what does it mean, but let me explain for those who are not aware of. So server is nothing but your workstation or operating system, whatever you call. So if you run any application in a machine, so we call it as a server, someone which serves the purpose, someone which serves the application, or someone which serves the database for you, or any tasks for you, someone serves on behalf of, on for you, then we call it a server. So of course, the network is very, very important when we are working in work from home. If the word network is removed, so the last 1.5 years, the world will be in different direction. So network is very, very important, especially when it comes to IT infrastructure. Network is considered as a backbone, and even for cloud too. Over here, storage, once again, another backbone, I can say. If storage is removed from the IT infrastructure, then human needs to store the memory of data, everything on their own. Imagine there is no hard drives, there is no volumes, no pen drives, no drives, etc. If we remove the storage from IT infrastructure, then life is going to be different. But if all are provided by cloud at low cost for your rent, then IT infrastructure cost and the management would be much, much better. That's what we are going to discuss over here. And security, whatever and how much ever the IT infrastructure you have enhance it, you can enhance any opportunities of any IT infrastructure improvement, but without security, none of the components are going to be success. So these are the very few IT infrastructure terms I have introduced. So the reason why I have introduced these terms, because these are all the terms we are going to use it in cloud computing in a different way. Okay, so what exactly the word cloud computing? So cloud computing, the one what you're seeing on the screen is the official definition provided by someone called NIST. So the word NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So they are the one defines what exactly the cloud is. If someone says this is called cloud, then how it should be. Some few minutes back, what I gave example. If I talk about lion, how the lion characteristics should be. If I talk about cat, how the cat characteristics should be. So the cat defines the standards of cat. But here, The NIST defines the standards of a cloud computing. If a cloud needs to be considered as a cloud, then the standards needs to be followed. So the definition of the cloud computing is on-demand delivery. You can have a look at the word, which is very, very powerful word, on demand. So what does it mean that on demand? So what you want, you take only that. What you don't want, no need to take that. So what does it mean? What you want, take that. For example, you are purchasing a new laptop. You're purchasing the laptop for a Word, PowerPoint, Excel, for a documentation official office purpose. What if you want to play games? You cannot play games in that laptop because it may be having 4 GB RAM, where your graphics may not be up to the mark to play games like a Grand Theft Autos. So if you want to go for a gaming, you need to go for a high-end graphics laptop. So for that, you have to pay more for that. And you need to own that laptop, and any hardware issues, you need to be the owner of that laptop. And any software issues, you need to pay for a right software package. If we have to remove the plagiarism, I mean, you need to go for a royalty, out of royalty issues, then you need to purchase official softwares for that. So everything, you need to own that. But what if the word on demand comes into the picture? Whatever we spoke about, whatever you need to work on, everything is available, but you don't need to own that. The provider will take care of it. Someone who provides the cloud will take care of it. So what exactly that? We are talking about computer power, database, storage, application, and other IT resources. If everything what we have discussed in the previous slide, like a server, network, storage, has been taken care by someone on behalf of you, what you need to do is just utilize that software and just close the applications whenever it is not required, and you pay only for the time of usage. Then imagine how the concept will be. That's what we call it as cloud. So over here, your laptop should be in your home if you want to play games, or your application needs to be in your hand if you want to perform any professional operations. But if your server needs to be deployed for any application, or any software needs to be hosted, you no need to own the machine, and you no need to keep your machine in your home. It will be in data center, where we call it as a service provider location. In service provider location, we can access via internet. Moreover, the cost of a laptop could be 25 to 40K on an average, a basic laptop. What about my server cost? The same operation, if I want to perform only for 2 days, it's completely pay as you go pricing. How much ever you used, just pay for that, and then you can close the application. So you don't need to own everything, or you don't need to even purchase everything for a small or tiny or a set of applications that you want to perform. Only for that application, if you want to perform, then you don't need to purchase or own, you need to just take a rent. So we don't use the word rent or lease over here. So we just use the right term called pay as you go pricing. So pay as much you utilize. So if you want to have a look at what exactly the cloud means, or who defines and how exactly defines, and when it is designed, and before the cloud, how it was termed as a cloud. So everything you can find it in an official documentation link, where you can find it at the end of the session. And not only that, it provides a simple way to access all the IT infrastructure, what we have mentioned. Okay. Your servers or networks or your storages are in remote location. There is a data center, what we spoke. How to access that? Moreover, I am in my home. From my home, how can I access the server which is not in my home? Of course, we use the term called internet over here, but exactly how? So is there any protocols we need to use? Of course, protocols are the technical terms we need to follow, but at the end of the customer level, a layman level, at a end user level, we no need to even think about how it is going to be. In a simple English, your service provider will provide how to connect our servers. In a service provider point of view, they need to provide a documentation or a manual, you mean to say, user manual or developer manual, how to connect to our databases, how to use our services. And if you store 1 GB of data, how much you need to pay. And if that 1 GB is long lasting for 1 month continuously, then how much you need to pay. Or continuously 5 years, you are going to run your server in my cloud, I mean, as a service provider point of view. Then we are providing offers. 3 years continuously, if you're running our machines, then 90% of the cost will be discounted. Or 5 years, 40% of the extra services will be provided. So such manuals, documentations, and the discount pricings based on the type of service you're utilizing. So the service providers are offering. Over here, we are just pitching into a specific service provider called as Amazon Web Service. See, the Amazon Web Service is one of the leading service provider in AWS, whereas you can consider it is one of the pioneer in the cloud computing. So everybody is providing a network. So depending on the network, depending on your interest and depending on the quality, we are choosing an SIM cards. So we had a lot of SIM networks. I'm talking mobile networks, but right now, not more than 2 in your mobile phone. The reason is you're comfortable with the network, and in your location, that network is good. Similarly, most of the professional technological industries are focusing on the Amazon Web Services because the services and the offerings of Amazon Web Services are crystal clear in their documentation and the services are up to the mark. And very important advantage of the cloud computing is you no need to own or you no need to purchase. All you need to do is you need to pay only for the task that you're performing and you're taking the service for a number of hours. Exactly what is the cloud? If I satisfy something called cloud, it must satisfy 5 characteristics, 4 deployment models, and service models. So this 543 numbers denotes characteristics, deployment models, and service models. So what exactly this deployment models and service models will have in the we'll have a look at in the forthcoming slides. But one thing we need to make a note: deployment model is also called as delivery models. We'll see what are the characteristics of a cloud if I talk something as a cloud. First characteristics, on-demand self-service. No one will be there on behalf of you, or no one will be there to just assist you. Everything is a self-service. So self-service in the sense at end user level, you can own your own applications, you can deploy your own application on the service. So everything is on demand. So what does it mean on demand? You can create, you can use, and you can destroy. Only thing is at the time of creation to till the time of destroy, there is a termination. The number of hours you have utilized the server, which is equal to the cost of the server. For example, I have to perform an operation in a Linux server. If I need to perform that for 3 months, then I need to purchase a desktop or workstation, which costs around 24K. Whereas in AWS, that's not the case. If you purchase a laptop, it may cost around some X amount. But if you take AWS, it may cost just 50% of 50 or even 40% of the X amount. In fact, if you go for a long term, like 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, then your cost may reduce up to 90. So this is what we call it as on demand. What you want, utilize only that service. And a measured service. We call it also we call it as a metering service. So what is that metering service? You can have your own budget. You can have your own budget for the resources that you are utilizing it. If you have a budget that you at end of 15th of every month we need to calculate and it should not go beyond this dollars, and if it exceeds our budget, then we need to utilize our services at some budget level, then you can have your measure. Also, you can keep on monitor. So what's happening at every day, what's happening at every hour, even a minute, every 60 seconds, you can monitor so that you can have a control of the servers, which is not in your home, but located in a data center. Next is a rapid elasticity. Hope you might have all might have ordered something, at least some products you might have ordered in an e-commerce website. There are many leading e-commerce websites are available in the market. Have you ever thought about the Big Billion Day or any festival sale day? You might have find better, or you might have find more traffic on that particular day. The reason behind that traffic is more number of people are using that. What should be the e-commerce side IT team might have taken? Because they will increase the number of servers. Because as the number of server increasing, it may handle the number of people. I mean the number of requests. So you no need to do that whenever you are working on it. Automatically, the rapid elasticity of the services are expanded. After your sale, festival sale day, automatically the number of users access will be reduced by default. Then the server's extension may lead to a cost increase. So people no need to manually intervene and then reduce the number of machines. Automatically, the machines count will be reduced. That is what we call it as a rapid elasticity and a broad network access. So the network access, what I meant here is around the globe in the sense not only in separate specific country, but in across the globe, the network can be accessible. So wherever you are in the world, for example, right now today you are in India and you are flying this to tomorrow to Indonesia, you can work in Indonesia and you can access the server which is in the US. There will not be any changes. There will not be any changes in this accessibility or in terms of the connectivity or procedure, whatever you need to follow. There is a major advantage broad network access. And next thing is resource pooling. You may ask a question, what if the data or the service I'm using fails at a backend? Yes, of course, it will fail, but your data or your instance will not be failed. So what is the assurance and the service level agreement between the provider and the end user? Because the concept of resource pooling helps the service provider to utilize the hardware, whichever is nearest hardware and the right healthy hardware will be chosen and it will be provided to the user immediately. So the service level agreement of this concept is from the AWS is 99.99999%, which is 11 nines after the fraction dot. So 0.00001 percentage of possibility that your hardware may fail at a production runtime. So this is what the 5 characteristics any cloud has to satisfy. And a service model is what is offered. If I am a service provider and if I am offering you, then a customer will question what is offered by you. Then the answer is going to be these are all the services we are going to offer. So if someone say what is offered, then that is what we call it as a service model. So these are all the service models available. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So hope we discussed what is infrastructure and what are the components influencing the infrastructure. But if you have a look at the platform on top of the infrastructure, what are all the options? For example, if I'm providing only laptop without any operating system or any applications you require, we call it as infrastructure. What if I install a Java or a backend applications and whatever the factors like MySQL or Oracle or any applications and with the environment variables with proper internet connectivity, all you need to do is just type a code and execute. If that is the case, then I am providing a platform for you to develop something. So if somebody is providing that, we call it as a platform. And last one is a SaaS application. So SaaS application where you are not involved in infrastructure part, you are not going to develop anything. All you are going to do is just utilize that. The best example is your Google Drive. Your Google Drive is actually a infrastructure as a service. It provides a storage, but in form of software. So how can you consider the Google Drive as a software? Because a Google Drive is an application which stores your data in the infrastructure. So these are all the components provided by any cloud computing model, irrespective of any cloud provider. So if someone asks what is provided, then that is called service model. But how are you going to provide that? If the question is raised, then answer will be the delivery models. So how are you going to offer? Public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. If a cloud can be accessible by anybody without any restrictions with the right username and password, and anybody can sign up throughout the globe, then that is public cloud. A best example is a Gmail. Anybody in the world can sign up. Anybody in the world can use it without any restrictions, only with the help of internet. But what if it's the same Google or Microsoft is available in a private cloud for a XYZ company? For example, we have a Skill-Lync. There may be some email called gopi at skilllink.com. This @skilllink.com may be hosted in the Google or Microsoft. So the same Google or Microsoft is available in form of domain and Skill-Link, but that cannot be signed up by anybody randomly. That is called private cloud. There is something called hybrid cloud, whereas a combination of both public and private, but not all time. So sometimes a public cloud can utilize only a specific service from the private. For example, a storage. Very important storage needs to be in the local private storage. But other services I want in public cloud. So should I continue with public or should I continue with private? You can do both. Except that particular security service, you can do everything in the public. That is also possible in a hybrid cloud. A community cloud is a best example of another form of hybrid. For example, you have many banks. There is a bank A, bank B, bank C. If you have an ATM card of one bank, it doesn't mean that you have to search a specific bank ATM. You can withdraw money from any other bank ATM. Similarly, if you have taken a loan from one bank and if you fail to pay and ask the loan in some other bank, still you will be get caught because all the banks are connected each other. Although the banks are having a separate cloud, a specific set of data will be centralizedly communicated and shared each other. So if such cases are arised, then that is what we call it as community cloud. So to recap, we have discussed 5 characteristics, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. Let's enter into the leading service provider, Amazon Web Services. So this is one of the leading service cloud computing provider. So what exactly and what is the specialty of this cloud infrastructure? So unlike other cloud, so we have 25 regions. You can consider the region is nothing but a city. If you consider Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, so this is a city of cities in India. So in AWS, they name it as regions. For example, in your Chennai city or Bangalore city or New Delhi city, if you have various locations, for example, in Chennai, you have a location A and location B. So location A is in one corner, location B is one corner, location C is in another corner. So if that is the case, the A, B, C corners of individual region, we call it as availability zones. So which is a wide range of and more number of counts or actually services. So 80 availability zones across the globe. This is as on today. And you want to look at the list of services provided in each region, you can have a look at the map. So in North America itself, you have a lot of regions. So America and Europe is actually occupying a lot of regions comparing to other continents. In Asia Pacific, you have a predominant number of regions. Over here in India, Mumbai is the location which is currently operating. Soon Hyderabad will be launched. So whichever is the regions encircled in this color that are regions, and all the blue encircled regions are called as edge locations. So what is that edge locations? Although you are in India, and as I mentioned, you can travel any country and you can access. Still, there must be something called tower, right? Like we call it as a base station. So you need a nearest endpoint to connect for avoiding the latency. So such locations, we call it as edge locations. And as I mentioned, private cloud requires on-premise, that is your local data, to be transferred to public and vice versa. So if you have more number of terabytes of data, then you cannot directly upload by a hard drive and you can upload it. So you have to directly connect a communication. So in that case, we have more than 97 direct connect locations across the globe. Such features are provided by AWS Cloud Infrastructure. This is what I was talking about, whereas the white dotted square is called as region. So if you take overall globe, there are many regions in India, Mumbai, in US, Oregon, Washington, New York. So we have many regions. In the same region, you may have a multiple data centers where we call it as availability zone. Okay, fine. AWS is a cloud computing. AWS has a characteristics of elasticity, pay as you go, etc. And we are providing infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And we do have a deployment model like public, private, hybrid, community. And we have wide range of regions and availability zones. All are fine. Everything is summarized. But AWS is a cloud providing what? Of course, infrastructure and platform and software. But in form of what? How? The answer will be compute, network, storage, database, security, monitoring, IoT. There are more than 135 services are provided by AWS. So if we want to know what are all the services provided by the AWS, you can have a look at the products. The left-hand side, whatever I'm scrolling right now, are the products in a generic name. For example, you can have a look compute. Compute is a generic name. So how exactly the AWS is providing? Yes. Virtual servers in the cloud, like a virtual machines. Wherever the word servers come, you can replace the word with machines. And automatic scaling, when we talk about a rapid elasticity characteristics, this is what the AWS provided, rapid elasticity. So the terms are changes in according to AWS. And AWS Lambda, if you are a developer and this is a hot cake for you, the AWS Lambda is developing, make the developers to develop the codes for the AWS. If you're writing a code for on-prem, at the same time, the same code, the same language, if you write for AWS, then you are a developer. Still, you are a developer. You are not a cloud developer. But same code, the same developer write a code for AWS Lambda, then you are a cloud developer. So a tiny difference makes more productivity. Next is the database. Many. You can go for many. Like my favorite is over here serverless. So what is a serverless? Very simple term. Whatever the operations provided by the server, we can do the same operation without server. How? Using this service. These are all the services requires only coding knowledge. Okay, I don't have a coding knowledge, but I want to perform the same operations. Choose compute. Whatever we have seen in the previous serverless, we can do over here. So what is your current domain? You can choose the service accordingly. I'm a database expert. So how can I excel myself in database? You have a lot of databases available where you have a lot of databases to explore, both SQL, MySQL. But I'm already working in some other technologies like a MySQL, Oracle, MongoDB. No problem. You have a MongoDB already, and you have a MySQL already. If you want caching service for a database, you no need to worry. You have a separate caching memory. So these are all the services, end-to-end services provided by the AWS. Okay, we have discussed the list of services provided by the AWS and what is AWS. Okay, why not other providers in the market? Why only AWS? So you can have a look at the bottom right corner of the pic. The Gartner is a magazine who reviews the IT related stuffs and provides the review of that. So consecutive 10th year, Amazon Web Services stands in a rank number 1. And if you have a look at the first quadrant, there's a leaders quadrant. Only 3 cloud providers have takes their place: Google, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services. Without Google, we won't even have our life, right from starting whether the internet is working or not, or until the things that we want to know. But still, if you have a look, the Google is in the 3rd position because the Amazon Web Services is providing the predominant services than the Microsoft and Google, who are all giants in their business. If you take a cloud, the Amazon Web Services stand up front and providing end-to-end seamless services to their customers, not for first year or second year, consecutive 10th year. So not sure how many of you are listening the word cloud computing from last 10 years, but the AWS are ranking number 1 in the market from last 10 years. So isn't it something like other cloud providers are not so good? I'm just degrading the other cloud providers? Not at all. They are also leaders, but they are the leader number 1. And if you have a look at the difference between the rank 1 and rank 2, the difference is vast. So this is not my review, and this is Gartner review. 10th consecutive year as on 2020. The 2021 also going to be released soon, and it is also going to be a first. The reason is Microsoft cannot beat without much difference, and Google also cannot beat Microsoft with much difference, because Amazon Web Services is also updating themselves with something called as reinvent. So every year they have reinvent and taking the customer reviews and the feedbacks. Based on that, they are improving themselves. So what are the job opportunities if I learn AWS Cloud? If you are a fresher, and if you are a mid-senior level, and if you are a senior level, or you are a manager or on top of an architect level, everywhere you have a position. So right from the cloud administrator, engineer, cloud ops engineer, if you focus first 3, so it sounds similar, especially the first 2. What is the difference between cloud administrator and the engineer? So the cloud administrator and engineer is actually a similar task, but there are minor differences. This is ops. The administration mostly focus on the operation. The engineer, the cloud engineer, focuses on providing the solution, identifying the root cause, and making changes in the design. So although a student joins as a cloud administrator engineer, they do have a two different set of responsibilities, but at end of the day, they will be end up in a single solution. So administrator and engineer, 99% they have a similar task when it comes to cloud. So cloud ops engineer can be considered as a mid-senior level, whereas same task will be performed at mature automated level. And we do something called cloud AWS consultant, whereas it provides solutions, best practices to be followed. There may be a 10 feasible solution, but only one optimal solution that is best practices suggested by AWS needs to be followed and imposed. And they need to identify wherever the possibilities where we can improve the quality of the infrastructure and the cloud network. And next thing is very interesting one, AWS DevOps specialist. Somebody is good at programming, also somebody is good at servers. They know have both the skills and they are a hot cake. So AWS DevOps specialist, actually between the AWS Ops engineer and AWS DevOps specialist, there was a position called AWS developer. Nowadays, AWS developers are not a developer. AWS DevOps are not pure DevOps. So whenever the development comes into the picture, automatically they are following a DevOps. So there is no more developer, they are called as DevOps. And at senior level, solution architect. If someone needs to create a architecture or a product or a project from the beginning or from the scratch, a solution architect role is the right opportunity. If I have an ability to decide how to deploy, what to deploy, where to deploy and when to deploy, and how to support it, whether is it a secure one or not. If it is not secure one, how exactly I can improve it, and how can I prevent from the vulnerabilities. On top of all, how can I optimize the cost by using the same server? For example, a project A is working on architecture, project B is working on same architecture, but both the billing of the cost may not be the same. The reason is the way they are utilizing the service, how efficiently they are utilizing. Output is same, but the cost is different. So that's what the solution architect comes into the picture. Of course, AWS consultant is providing the same, with mature level, the solution architect must be provided. So on top of that, principal architect who has a decision authority, who has a vast experience in terms of architecture design. If I design AWS cloud, then I am an architect. If I architect, a person who designs and provide a solution, but the one who designed a multiple solutions based on the solution, if they are providing a right solution, then they are a principal architect. So you will be having a very long journey. You will be having a very good journey if we have chosen AWS cloud.